Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. Time for Professor Victor Singing Eagle's brilliant lecture, Part 2. Native American Literature at Sisseton, Wahpeton College in beautiful downtown Agency Village, South Dakota. And now, without any further ado, it's the man himself, Professor Victor Singing Eagle! Yay! Woo, 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 woo. Okay, now I gotta quit fooling around. We gotta get started. We last left off talking about the non fiction works, essays, memoirs, all that wonderful stuff written by native writers. And I finished with Paula Gunn Allen. We're going to jump on down to Deloria Jr., who is Standing Rock Lakota. Now, one thing that we need to know about Deloria Jr., I got to step into the me, I for a second. I apologize. Now, you got to remember, Professor Victor Singing Eagle went to a Catholic school, St. Philomena Elementary School, where we were taught by the nuns that us natives were a bunch of savages, pagan babies, and we must be Christianized. Tape on the mouth. If we were speaking our native languages. And even the Mexican kids got taped for speaking Spanish. But we won't go there. We got to stay focused, you see, because we grew up all these years learning that, Western, non-native, that's the way to go, you see. But one day, the school hired a Morongo Chumash woman to teach English. And that was so awesome because when she came, she taught us a little bit of pride about being natives. This is something new, and I'm surprised how the heck did she get hired at the school? But suddenly, those of us who were native, we were like, oh, yay, we love Mrs. Estrada. And along with her came some strange books that were just mysteriously added to our library. And one of them was called God is Red. Let me repeat that. God is Red. And little old nerdy me, I guess I was about 11 years old, 10 years old, wandering in our school library. I see God is Red, and it's like, whoa! I grabbed that book off and checked it out and read it, and it was Deloria Jr. That's who wrote it. 3 things that are big, that he's big on. Deloria Jr., I believe the late Deloria Jr. I actually met him once. I told him that story that I just told you, and he's like, yeah, get out of here, kid, you bother me. Never mind, focus. 3 big things that he is into. Number 1, sacred geography and sacred history are intertwined. That is the land, every inch of the land of North America, Turtle Island, has a story. Or as the late, oh darn it, now I'm drawing a blank. She won the Nobel Peace Prize in Literature, Toni Morrison. She used to say, there's no inch of land that is not stained with the blood of native peoples. That's very true. And the blood of the native peoples that sinks into the ground also has stories to tell, and the land is full of sacredness and stories. That's one of the things Deloria was big on. Next, collective religion, not personal Lord and Savior. What does that mean? Well, if you were alive back in the 80s, which you probably weren't because you're probably all the same age as my son or younger, but back in the 80s, you see, you go, I don't know, to Wendy's restaurant or McDonald's or something, whatever, Taco Bell. You sit down, get your food order, sit down and relax, and you start eating. And sure enough, somebody in a suit and tie would come up and say, tell me, and you have a book.
Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior?
And you're eating your food, and it was so annoying. So I started my own little responses. I say, no, I have not, because I do not believe in chopping up Jesus Christ into personal Jesus McNuggets. For each person to separately worship and communicate with and fellowship with. No! We natives, we are a collective religion. What does that mean? That means we share together in our relationship with the Creator, and our ceremonies are often collectives and often intertribal. And this is something that Deloria talks about. Next, colonialism and religion related to the previous one. What does he mean by this? Well, he says that colonialism, that's in the West, the non-natives, and religion go hand in hand. So those of us who know our history, we know that when they came marching with their metal helmets or whatever and Christianizing, allegedly Christianizing native people, they came with their guns and their spears and they said, accept Jesus, accept God, or die. That was a big thing. And this is something that Deloria decries in his essays. Next, we got to talk about Gerald Vizenor, who has a more whimsical look at this whole phenomenon of literature and culture and civilization, we should say. Right. Gerald Vizenor, he's Anishnaabe, otherwise known as Chippewa. I believe he's from somewhere up north of here, as a matter of fact. He's really big on tricksterism. This idea that we got to mock the rigid colonial ways and blur the boundaries. He blurs boundaries between what is savage and what is sacred and what is profane and what is civilized, and mixes them all up. He's sort of like a human coyote. If you ever meet him, he's really cool. He kind of looks like a Washichu, but he's actually Anishinaabe. Anyway, his big claim to fame is this term, survivance. What does that mean? Now, it's a joyful, whimsical, and kind of sarcastic connection of survival of us native peoples mixed with resistance against the non-natives who impose their alleged civilization upon us, and renounce this idea that we're just victims all the time. You know, everything's always done to us. No, we're going to have fun with it. We're going to take it and we're going to mock it. We're going to make fun of the dominating culture in such a way that we're telling them pretty much to kiss our behinds, and they thank us for it. Never mind, I'm going to talk too much about that. How are we doing on time? Because I'm supposed to bother you with Sherman Alexie from the toughest Indian. Oh, goody, 7 minutes and 57 seconds. We have just enough time. Remember, I told you that I forgot my book. However, I have the actual book, Toughest Indian in the World, by my old buddy, Sherman Alexie. Keep in mind that a lot of these people I talk about, I know personally. Now, I'm going to read from The Toughest Indian in the World. Not the whole thing, but I just want to highlight something. In your book, it's going to be on page 247. Some stuff to look at is we never know the name of the characters in this story. I'm going to find it. I thought I had it. No, that's not it. There it is right there. Thought I had it bookmarked, but I guess I didn't. All right. Being Spokane Indian, I only pick up Indian hitchhikers. I learned this particular ceremony from my father, a Coeur d'Alene, who always stopped for those 20th century Aboriginal nomads who refused to believe the salmon were gone. These are salmon people. Keep that in mind. They don't have buffalo, or they didn't traditionally have buffalo in the Spokane and the Northwest Coast. They ate salmon. Keep that in mind. So sacred to the Indians out there is the salmon. And there's a lot of stories that are similar to the stories out here on the plains, where there's these interactions between human beings and the buffalo people here. But out there, there's interaction between human beings and the salmon people over there, and the crow people and the bear people and stuff like that. Let me keep reading. I don't know what they believed in exactly, but they wore hope like a bright shirt. My father never taught me about hope. Instead, he continually told me that our salmon, our hope, would never come back. And though such lessons may seem cruel, I know enough to cover my heart in any crowd of white people. They'll kill you if they get the chance, my father said. Love you or hate you, white people will shoot you in the heart. Even after all these years, they'll still smell the salmon on you, the dead salmon, and that will make white people dangerous. All of us, Indian and white, are haunted by salmon. So I'm going to stop it there because I want to keep going. Skip over to the next page where it talks about this guy. He's grown up already, and his father is teaching him. It says here on the next page, I've skipped over several sections. It's now I drive my own car, a 1998 Toyota Camry, the best-selling automobile in the United States and therefore one of the most often stolen. Consumer Reports has it named the most reliable family sedan for 16 years running, and I believe it. In my Camry, I pick up 3 or 4 Indian hitchhikers a week, mostly men. They're usually headed home back to their reservations or somewhere close to their reservations. Indians hardly ever travel in a straight line, so a Crow Indian might hitchhike west when his reservation is back east in Montana. He has some people to see in Seattle, he might explain if I ever asked him. But I never ask Indians their reasons for hitchhiking. All that matters is this: they are Indians walking, raising their thumbs, and I am there to pick them up. So this guy, he is a newspaper reporter. He's a journalist. There's no name, is never named. As he's driving along, every once in a while, he picks up an Indian hitchhiker. He picks up this big old giant dude, a Lummi from the Lummi tribe, also unnamed. This Lummi fighter has a lot of what the Indian journalist, the narrator of the story, has lost. What do I mean by that? Well, you see, after so many years of living off the res and working for this big giant newspaper, he's lost contact with his tribal roots in some respects. Let me keep reading. So, it was with reluctance that I climbed in my car last week and headed down Highway 2 to write some damn pleasant story about some damn pleasant people. Then I saw the Indian hitchhiker standing beside the road. He looked the way Indian hitchhikers usually look: long, scraggly black hair, brown eyes and skin, missing a couple of teeth, a bad complexion that used to be much worse, crooked nose that had been broken more than once, big misshapen ears, a few whiskers masquerading as a mustache. Even before he climbed into my car, I could tell that he was tough. He had some serious muscles that threatened to rip through his blue jeans and denim jacket. When he was in the car, I could see his hands up close. They told his whole story. His fingers were twisted into weird, permanent shapes, and his knuckles were covered with layers of scar tissue. Geez, I said, you're a fighter, ain't it? I threw in the "in it," a reservation colloquialism, because I wanted the fighter to know that I had grown up on the res, in the woods, with every Indian in the world. The Indian hitchhiker looked down at his hands, flexed them into fist. I could tell it hurt him to do that. Yeah, he said, I'm a fighter. I pulled back onto the highway, looking over my shoulder to check my blind spot. What tribe are you? I asked him, inverting the last 2 words in order to sound as aboriginal as possible. Lummi, he said. What about you? Spokane. I know some Spokanes. Haven't seen them in a long time. I'm going to stop it there because you know how I am. I like to read too much, and I'm not supposed to torture you too much. But keep in mind, the Lummi, big muscle, bruised up and scarred up knuckles. He still lives more like an Indian than the journalist. So he has what the journalist has lost and what the journalist misses. And their time together, which is kind of gross in my opinion, but that's just me because I'm straight, they have a homosexual encounter. Let's just put it that way. And in that encounter, somehow they make a connection. And rather than me tell you the story, I urge you to go off on your own and read it. I hope that little salt that I put in your oats helps. So we're going to stop it there, and keep in mind this kind of stuff that I keep reading and highlighting, I often put on exams. This word, survivance, is one of my favorite words to put on exams. So keep that in mind. Survivance, which comes from Gerald Vizenor, the combination of survival and resistance, and the idea of renouncing victimhood. Sacred geography from Deloria. Native Feminism by Paula Gunn Allen. Those are the kinds of stuff you got to keep burned into your hard drive. Now, I'm going to stop it here. We're going to go on to part 3 of our lecture, which is story time.
Yay!
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
16 minutes and 33 seconds.
Stop, stop, stop.